So for some of us, actually most of us, we read this document, we've been talking about the ideal and the real, and we all aspire for these ideals. And I think about failed parenting moments in my own life or failed family moments. There's plenty of them. And I just think if people wanted to create a comedy hour or comedy year, they would just kind of go through these. And let me share one with you. And at the time was actually a bit traumatic for me. I was a young father, and my son David was out of his crib, so he's now sleeping in a bed. And sometimes he wouldn't stay in bed going to sleep when he should. He'd get out of bed and want to run around. And who among us as adults really wants to go to bed on time anyway? So I was struggling to help him stay in bed. When he's in a crib, it's like a cage, you can keep him in. And so I remember one night I actually closed the door on him. Now he was like 1.5 years old. He was too small to get up and open the door. So the room's totally dark. The door has been closed. He's now cut off from the two people in his life that love him the most, his mom and his dad. And he just was pounding on the door, screaming and crying for about 30 minutes. And I just sat there thinking, what kind of parent would lock their child in a cave and ignore the pounding on the door to let me out? And I remember thinking at that time, the trauma I must have created in his mind. Well, the years have rolled on, many years. He's now a happy, well-adjusted teenager, and I don't even think he remembers this. And the point here is that at the time, I felt like I was doing the right thing when I shut the door on him. As the situation unfolded, I realized I made a kind of a bad choice that in the moment was really traumatic for him. In fact, so traumatic, he fell asleep at the door. I couldn't even open the door later to actually get in to help him. I actually had to, budget a little bit to get him to wake up to move so I could get in and give him a hug. But even though I thought I failed as a parent, it didn't have like this long-term lasting damage on him. Now, there are things that we can do that have long-term damage. I guess I just want to lower the temperature a bit. That all of us struggle at times in our best attempts to do what is right, do well. And sometimes we make mistakes and we cause pain or trauma for others. But the atonement is so broad and vast, God can make up our deficit. I might say a shout out to my older brother, Brad Halverson, who when he heard of this story and I was kind of at my wit's end, how do I help my young son? He offered this advice. He's like, your child needs to know that you're there. And so what you do is when you're leaving the room, you reassure them and say, I'll be back in 1 minute. Can you just wait 1 minute? I'll be right back. And you get a timer and you come back in within 1 minute and check in, see how they're doing, make sure they're feeling okay. And then say, I'll be back in 2 more minutes. Is it okay if I just go for just 2 minutes? I'll be right back. And then you do that again. You come back in, make sure you're on time, 2 minutes. Then you move to 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And by the time you get to about 15 minutes, they're asleep. But what you've done is created the sense of they are loved, you're with them, you care about them. So I appreciate my family teaching me how to be a better family member. And I hope wherever you are in your life, try not to spend too much time beating yourself up over past mistakes. Learn from them, move on, and just know that God has given us this life to practice to get better, to be more like Him.